Hello, 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 everyone. We're back again. This is the You Only Go Once podcast. I am here with my amazing co-host and friend, Eileen Grimes, and today we have a special guest. Eileen, kick us off.
Thanks, Cheryl. I am so excited to introduce Esteban Herevia, whose pronouns are he, him, and his. He's the president and CEO of Spokane Pride, the organization that produces the Spokane Pride Parade and Festival. He co-founded Wonderfully Made Spokane, a nonprofit entrusted with increasing inclusion and celebration of LGBTQ plus people in faith communities. Esteban is the strategist for health justice and belonging at the Washington State University Elson Floyd College of Medicine. And he was recognized in the Spokane Coeur d'Alene Living Top 20 Under 40 list for 2021. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a pleasure. I know we're in the midst, Cheryl, of this like weird almost spring but not spring weather. Yep. I don't know if you're prepared for the next couple of days where we're dropping down very significantly. I'm not really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We have the same thing in Philly. We call it the 12 seasons of winter. So I think we're in fall spring part 2. Yeah, we're kind of having the same thing. So we're waiting for that weather to just plunk. Yeah, terrible. Well, enjoy it while it lasts, right? Yeah. Enjoy the weather while it lasts.
Exactly.
So so Esteban, we're really happy to have you here. So clearly, no small potatoes here. I mean, CEO of Spokane Pride, Wonderfully Made Spokane, advocate of celebrating LGBTQ people and faith communities, all wonderful things. Have you had a moment or event that radically changed how you saw the world and helped foster building some of these amazing things that you've done?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I think it's important for me to also make sure that I say like to live the life that I have right now is a dream. It wasn't always like this.
Okay.
And that's definitely one of the things that I recognize is like my 15-year-old self, gosh, I wish he could see where I am now. I think he thought for so long that we wouldn't get the opportunity to experience life like this. And so to be able to do all of this really is like, I mean, it's a dream. It's something I never anticipated, imagined, and to get to do it on a daily basis, I really don't take it for granted. Organizing Pride was never on the bingo card of life. Like this wasn't something that I was like, I'm gonna go do this thing.
Sure.
I'm sure we all have those moments of like, how the heck did I end up doing this thing?
Oh, for sure.
It's what here we're doing that right now. Yes. I think actually
this actual thing.
This is the exercise.
Yes, yes.
I would definitely say one of the moments for me was in 2017. I was only supposed to drive a golf cart for an hour at the Pride Festival in Spokane. And one of the organizers got injured. So he had to be taken by the ambulance away. And I was there when he got injured, and he knew that my past experience before Pride in Spokane and kind of before my life here in Spokane was doing large events and festivals and just really big organizing events in California. And so he went down and he goes, all right, I'm going to give you all the notes for the day. And I was like, I'm only supposed to be here for an hour. I'm not supposed to be here for more than that.
Oh boy.
And it happened. I know. And the day went on, and next thing I knew, I was leading the day and helping folks troubleshoot in real time, and no context, no idea who anybody was, but there I was in the middle figuring it out and working with folks. And I think that definitely for me was the moment of like, it's important for you to always show up fully present no matter where you find yourself. Because that had I not, thankfully I had the opportunity and the space to show up and to spend a day there. But also like, I think about all the moments of training that I had up until that point, and how even still through this day, now being 3 years into leading the organization, 5 years as a volunteer now, it's wild how the things that I thought that I wouldn't need or that would not serve me now show up every single day as tools or ways to navigate it. It's wild, and it showed up as a golf cart accident. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just funny to me.
Wow.
It's so interesting because we had, so the previous guest we were just talking to last week. So she owns her own company, Mad Men Inc., and they do the like lighting and stage work stuff for celebrity artists and things like that. So, and that's what she was saying. She's like, I just learned so many things and didn't realize which one of them necessarily was going to be sort of the thing, but like going in that direction and being open to some of those possibilities sort of, you know, it fell into your lap's not the right word, because you definitely put a lot of work into what you're doing, but sort of the path doesn't have to be, oh, I was going to do this. This is definitely where I was going from day one. But, you know, finding and listening to those things along the way it's kind of amazing sometimes looking back.
Oh yeah. Well, and like this experience is unique. Like, sure, I think a lot of folks think of Pride and they think it's a big old party. When in reality, like, you know, you're affirming people's lives, you're doing the work of making sure that people survive. And so, like, helping folks understand that and translate the experience, I think that's also been something too, where like my expectations, even my understanding of the work that we're doing, has also just dramatically shifted over the last couple of years of like, yeah, I can throw a really good party and I'm really good at creating a really good design and aesthetic and feel. But what's the deeper thing happening? And it's creating a sense of belonging. So how do we really make sure that sense of belonging really is our focus through all the elements that we do? And how do we have a good time doing it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, isn't that kind of like, I mean, that's life. I mean, you can look like you're having just a really great party, but what's the depth to it too? And oh man, that already gives me a lot to think about. But it's true, right? So you can have this visually great, stimulating thing, but then what is the true meaning of it, and how do we give that in whatever we're doing, whether it's, you know, through the work that you're doing here or in our daily stuff? What is the meaning and value that we're bringing into this world? And so belonging is really the piece of that, or what you're doing with Pride. And how does that translate for you? What do you know, how do you kind of go through that and make sure that you're bringing that to everybody?
Oh, it's a lot of crying.
Yeah.
But and the reason why I say that is, I mean, you have to do some really deep feeling, right? Of like, okay, if I was in this experience with folks, how would this feel to me? Or if I had lived my life in okay, let's take for instance, right? Like, you turn on the news and you're a trans person, and all you hear on the news is state after state saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, we won't allow you to do these things, we won't allow you to do that. How do you expect to live a life of freedom if all you hear is you can't, you won't, we won't allow, you're not allowed to do XYZ? So the moment that someone steps into a Pride festival, for instance, and specifically here in Spokane, I want to make sure that I'm taking all of that messaging, all of that, what could potentially be trauma or negative response, and how do I flip it on its head so that way, at least this one moment, these 6 hours that they're spending in a park, in our parade, in the festival, that they hear the very opposite of that. And it may be the first time that they're hearing that. It may be the only time that they hear it. It may be one of the only messages that slips in where they get to hear somebody say, hey, you're worthy, your body is beautiful, you're welcome here, you belong here. Like, and again, I don't take it for granted, but also like it's a lot. And again, I think some folks think that my mind is like consumed with, you know, napkins and color and confetti, and it totally is. It totally is.
Sure.
And I do worry about drag queens and what the drag queen's gonna wear and how it all plays out. But also there's another part of me that's like, okay, if we're gonna do this, let's do it so that way it has the highest impact possible. Like, I'm not just gonna sit around and waste my time doing something that doesn't actually change people's lives. Because like y'all, like the theme of the podcast, right? Like, and we've only got one shot. Let's make sure that one shot matters and counts.
So I will tell you that I went to Philly's Pride parade I think it was either 2018 or 2019. I know it was like right before the whole world changed with the pandemic. And full disclosure, I don't do well in crowds. So
That's
for
fair.
me, it
Neither
was.
do I, funny enough.
Do you really? Okay. All right.
I
So
don't.
that
No, I
actually,
really don't. You're not
that
alone.
actually makes me feel better because I literally was sitting there going like, what am I doing here? Oh my God, there's a lot of people. But
Yeah.
it was a moment in time that I will never forget because of all the love that was there. And you could feel it. And there was a sense of belonging and love and kindness. So the people who I went with, one of the guys that was there kept on checking on me because he knew. He was like, are you doing all right? Is everything? I'm like, okay, it's actually, it didn't feel as chaotic as I expected, walking in the Pride Parade as I had expected it to. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I think about that often. And I also think about the amount of work and working with, all of the different political aspects there. And I don't mean politics in terms of Democrats and Republicans and independents. I just mean in terms of like, what do you have to do to get the city permits? What do you have to do to make sure that there's enough, protection? What do you have to do to make sure that, you have people that make sure that it's a safe space to be and to celebrate, and that it's not that purely chaotic, like we're going to shoot off, like confetti sticks and all the things and not have it feel uncomfortable. Right. So, I applaud you, especially when somebody goes, hey, this is all yours. I gotta go.
Right.
I gotta go. And again, Eileen said it. Our person in the last one, her person, I think she went on vacation. She was like, okay, it's all yours. And she was like, do you have a minute? Because I was not prepared for this. And they're like, you've got it. But that's a thing. That's a thing, right? You must have I don't want to say aura. Somebody that start laughing, Eileen, but you
Cheryl's like, no woo woo.
No woo woo. No, but we have had a lot of woo woo in previous episodes. So I'm trying to just keep it, not that there's anything wrong with woo woo. Woo woo's good, but you must have a certain spirit about you that says like, oh yeah, this is the guy that I can trust with this. That had to make you feel good, right? That had to certainly make you feel good. That was like, other than like, oh my heavens. No. In the moment, no. But long term, though, look what you've done. I mean, you're now the head of this, and it's a wonderful. Sometimes there are moments in life that you just have to embrace, and I think you did that, or I know you did that based on your conversation here. So yeah, I just, good for you. That you did it and that you were brave enough, and especially that you don't like crowds, because that's not great. That's not a good feeling. But did you have people there that helped supported you, or was it just like, oh, it's that guy, good luck, see ya?
No, there was 100% people who knew parts of the plan. It was helping weave everybody together. Now, there were definitely a couple of moments that nobody knew what was going on. So I want to make sure that I definitely say that there was a lot of unknown playing out, but there were also definitely other moments where folks were, yeah, I know what this little part is supposed to be. I know we're supposed to pick up the trash here. Great. Go pick up the trash.
That's it. Right. Awesome.
Oh, wow. So tell us that. So from that, then you were handed the baton, right? How did you get here now? Was it a series of yeses, a series of, this actually now sounds kind of interesting and definitely what I want to do? What did that sort of look like for you to get to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so my natural instinct is to say no to things. And it comes from a place of believing that I'm not good enough for it. Mm-hmm. So someone will say, hey, we want you to do this thing. And I'll be like, no. Why are you thinking of me? So that next year they were like, we want you to do this thing. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to do it. Funny enough, things kind of changed for the organization. And then I came back in and helped out as a last minute resort. And then really what's defined my time has really been COVID. And I did not anticipate for it too. So as soon as we were at a conference There's actual like Pride conferences where organizers can convene and talk about best practices and what you do. And
Great.
it was awesome. It was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had. But it was 2 weeks before the country shut down. So we were in San Diego, and San Diego was like one of the first airports to shut down. And so that was like the end of February. Yeah. And so when we were the last flight out before really shut down. It was wild. It was the wildest experience.
Yeah.
But while we were there, it was just it was so weird to like have all these ideas, have all these experiences, to like feel like you've got this movement and momentum for building an in-person event, and then next thing you know, COVID happens, and rightfully so, a lot of folks went out of capacity, right? They either needed to stay, we were all at home, we all had different reasons for being home, we all had different abilities and things we could do now that everybody was home. And so for a lot of folks, they went out of capacity, and that left just a few of us left with the organization. And it became an assignment for the three of us. All right, how are we going to do this, and how is it going to change, and how do we shift it? And so thankfully, I mean, and again, things in the back pocket that you never think would help out or be the reality. Well, a lot of the video production, or a lot of the event production that we did, had video production and live streaming alongside of it.
Oh, wonderful.
Sure.
I know. So as soon as we recognized that we had to shift everything, I was like, oh, well, we just do it like it's a live show. And and thankfully, and the other part too that I want to make sure that I say is that my brain is wild, and I have hairball ideas and I go chase them. And so I'm the weird person in Michael's that's like digging through the clearance bin because I'm looking for something really random, but it has a purpose for a game or whatever it could be. Like I'm that person who thinks just like really weird and outside. And yeah, a lot of folks make fun of me because like, you never know what I'm up to. And when you finally figure out what I'm up to, you're like, what the heck is it? Anyways.
No, so we need to get coffee.
No. I was going to say you're our people, because we do this a lot. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Home Goods and I, we have a really positive relationship.
Love it.
I never know what I'm going to find.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Just be open. Just go walk in and be open.
Yeah. And be open. And $20 is $20. It is what it is. But you never know what you're going to find.
Yep.
Totally. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So really, COVID was really the moment where I was like, okay, I'm here. This is the assignment that I have right now. How do I maximize what we've got, and how do we actually turn it into something? And I'm very grateful that folks noticed a lot of the work that I was doing. Folks recognized that I could pull it together, and so just kind of through that time, it was very difficult. It was very, very hard leading a nonprofit while also navigating how to work from home and do all the things. Like it was tough. But also like I again figured out like, okay, how do we make the best of the situation, and how do we make sure that we're like staying true to what our mission is, and how do we make sure that like people still feel it even if they're home.
Sure.
I mean, that's not just a task. That is, it's like, like you said, this is really bringing the feeling of it too. It's not just this video, but how do we translate that you're a part of even if you're not with us, that you're also a part of this, and that we're seeing you even though we can't see you. And I just think that's a whole different perspective, and taking something like that on. And thank goodness you kept going. I mean,
exactly.
Others
and
might
thank
have
goodness I had the
given up.
capacity.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing I want to make sure that I say is that it's not valiant that I kept working. It's not this like, this inspirational, you kept going. No, I had the capacity and I was able to accomplish it. That's what it came down to. And I recognize that for a lot of folks, they didn't. And so I'm also just want to make sure that I recognize how grateful I am that like, I had a boss who was like, you do what you got to do and you figure it out.
Okay.
And I had a work situation that was like, everything's on fire. You figure out how to figure the fires. Like you go do what you got to do.
Yeah.
A lot of folks didn't have that. A lot of folks had very strict, they had to be at their desk, at their computer and I'm very grateful that also worked out where folks were like, yeah, you got to figure it out. You do it in the way that makes sense for you. We believe that you can get the work done. So I'm very grateful that it all played out the way it did. Yeah.
It's interesting too, because it was such a lonely time during the pandemic. So the fact that you had the capacity and you were able to do that, for sure, you made a difference in people's lives. Obviously now, like, we're doing this across a certain video channel, right? We are, I can tell you, because our jobs involve sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, sometimes more. Like, you have to be engaged and present and all that other stuff. By the end of those 8 hours, you're pretty beat. I mean, it's exhausting. So for you to bring something that important with a creative edge, all while you had the capacity, and also there were things on fire. We often refer to the meme with the dog sitting on the bar stool where like everything's on fire. And just like, this is fine. I mean, I think that was just, it's fine. This is fine. I think a lot of people felt that way. So these bright moments in there where you could actually engage with people versus just like staring into a screen. I know I follow a bunch of people on Instagram, and there's this one woman that said, well, this, education through video is really working for my son. He's been staring at the screen. The class ended about 10 minutes ago. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, people are just I know, right? So it's such a bummer, but the fact that you were able to find a way to make it meaningful for people, I mean, hats off to you. And I know you're saying it's not a valiant effort, but it still made a difference in people that were feeling isolated and alone. So that's terrific.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah. I never will say I'm grateful for the pandemic. I'm not. And there were things that I learned also through it. And, I think one of the things that I saw for myself and from others was there was actually a lot of loneliness even before the pandemic hit. Yeah. And it really showed itself when it came to be that we were literally physically alone from other people. I feel like a lot, for me at least, this sort of time has come to be like, well, what does that really mean for relationships? What does that mean for conversations with other people? And what is the depth that I truly want to have in these conversations and in this life and with other people? I don't know if you've seen any of that sort of in the work that you're doing, but that for me was one of the biggest sort of lessons, epiphanies. I don't even know what you want to call it, but was like, I was kind of lonely. And now I'm figuring out what being connected really means. I don't know if you've seen any of that with either what you're doing or just through your experience with all of this.
Yeah. I mean, in life, in my own personal life, like outside of all this work, even for me, I hate playing video games. Let me frame it this way. I hated playing video games before the pandemic. But now my friends and I, we will find any chance to play video games together because we just want to hang out. We just want to be with each other. We just want to, and it's different. It feels like our motivation is different. It feels like we're trying to figure out how do we find beyond just being friends, but how do we find common ground and common space to like share with each other. Like for instance, as soon as we're done with here, I'm gonna go grab Chipotle for the gang, and then we're gonna go play Mario Kart for the next like rest of the evening. Like that's nice. It's just, I know, right?
That's awesome. Yep.
It's the feeling of like I want to be connected with folks beyond just a hi or text messages or seeing you in the hallway sort of thing. But then also within the work, like for Pride at least, the biggest example of that was when we came back. So we tried multiple things. The first year of COVID, we did an online week-long virtual, basically talk show where I brought folks in from the community who they would normally connect with and got like connected folks. And we did, drag performances and bands submitted songs. And so it was just like this fun variety show, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year, I was like, okay, people still can't interact, but we have more clearance to gather folks. And so the first thing my mind thought was, well, let's do It's a Small World After All. So everybody gets into their cars and they pass through like basically the festival, but it's like everybody cheering and it's a small world. And so you like pass through the festival.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the arena and we had cars come through and all the different vendors who would typically be at the festival lined up their booths and we're throwing stuff into people's cars. And we typically have a petting zoo at Pride and it's a really big hit. And
oh, neat.
So the petting zoo, and listen to this. So the petting zoo was like, okay, we can't have folks get out of their car. What if we get all the bigger animals and walk the animals through the car so folks can pet the animals from their vehicles?
Gosh,
that must have been so much fun. Oh my!
It was so, you had drag queens dancing on cars, you had llamas passing through, like it was just it was so funny. And the fact that people believed me and like listened to the idea, I still can't believe that I convinced people to do it.
Right.
But like it worked. It worked. It was a thing. And so when we got the clearance to do an in-person festival this last year, I was like, okay, I'm terrified, but let's give folks the opportunity. And I was really scared of I was thinking our numbers were going to be low and I wasn't sure. And in 2019, we served about 27,000 people at our event.
Okay.
In 2020, or excuse me, in the very first one back last year, we served 50,000 people.
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah, people wanted out, craving that. Yeah, that craving, that piece. I love it. And I also know it takes a lot of energy for that. Isla and I both know. You mentioned Mario Kart. How are the other ways that you recharge after something like this? Because it's got to be, it's like you throw all that energy and it's done. And you're like, oh, I think I nap in a cookie. But how do you do it? Like, how is it that you charge? Yeah, sorry.
That's a really good question. Because this last year was my first round at this level of this amount of folks. And so I'm not trying to make the conversation sad or anything, but I got pretty sick. I was diagnosed with cancer right around the time that everything started. So it was very mild. Everything was handled very quickly. I was able to get through chemo pretty fast. Like I moved through it fairly fast. I'm very, very grateful. So I didn't really get the chance to recover from it. I still feel very tired, but in terms of like how I'm doing it now and how I'm like making the best of it, it really is just hanging out with friends. It's now taking the time when folks say, let's go do something. I'm like, we're going, this is going to be a thing. And one of the things that I said last year that I wanted to do more of was see more musicals. And so I've been like, every musical I'm going to when it comes through, I'm trying to go to as many concerts as possible. Like, really just all of the things that before I would say, well, I'll see it later, or I'll get the opportunity to do it later. Like now I'm in the stage of, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to see it all. I'm going to try to touch as much as I can. And and also it does look like a lot of naps. It looks like a lot of resting. The other thing too, in terms of like the woo-woo spirituality stuff, I really monitor what I watch. So I don't really I really don't take in too many intense movies, or I don't watch a lot of like gory stuff or a lot of killing, not because it's not interesting to me, but just to maintain a level of like, I want to be present. I want to make sure that I'm like, in ways that make sense for me. And so I also make sure that I'm like just really being conscious about, what visually am I intaking? What media am I consuming? How do I make sure that I'm like listening to us positive and as, So I watch a lot of cartoons. People make fun of me for it. I don't really care. Cartoon Network and I are best friends.
Awesome.
I just love playful, fun things. And I also am, like I said, I'm a wild person, and I decided to start my own events company because
amazing.
I love things. And because I was like, I miss playing with color, and I don't want to miss out on just inspiring people's lives through events and design and playing with flowers and doing all this stuff. So anyways, I just decided like, you know what? let's go back into that again. Let's have some fun with that
Sure.
again. So really
Surround yourself with happy. That's great.
with happy, exactly.
Yeah.
Happy and fun.
Yeah.
What how can I make sure that I'm spending my time doing, like, if I'm going to be wasting my time, I want to be wasting it having fun, basically.
That makes
Totally.
sense.
I mean, I'm so grateful that you're here, just
Yeah.
in general. And yeah, I just, so much of what you said is, we talked to a woman who lost her husband, and there's just these moments of like, okay, I'm still here, so what do I do to keep, what do I do to keep going? I still have the time to do things. How do I live this on purpose? How do I really be intentional about all of that? And I actually, when you said the consuming part, I was the same for a while. I was like, oh God, okay, Netflix is like suggesting all of the criminal murder shows. I should probably stop that. But when the suggestion piece is like, here's this, like, no, I need some suggestions based on what I should be consuming or want to like allow to be consuming my brain, because you are what you consume, right? And I love that saying. And it's not just food, it's what you see, it's what you read, it's the people that you surround yourself with. And I just think it's so incredibly important to rethink that every once in a while, and what you're putting your mind, or what you're allowing to put your mind into.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, one of the again, tools that I didn't think I would need to pull out, one of the when I was going through like this reframing of life, or trying to figure out how I was going to choose to live life as I got older, one of the things that I really wanted to be conscious of was, how do I maintain a stance of hospitality for all folks? That was personal work that I was like, I want to make sure that this is a value of mine. I love having people over. I love opening up my house. I love spending time with folks. How do I make sure that this practice, that I'm like, maximizing the practice, doing the best? So I found this book called Radical Hospitality. And basically it's these folks who survey Benedictine monks and their like understanding of hospitality. Random book. It was really funny to find. And I thought, oh my gosh, oh, it's so interesting. But they came up with this concept called cloister and community. And so the idea is that in order for us to experience the maximization of community, we also need to experience the maximum of silence and solitude. So you practice. The practice is you find solitude, you find not necessarily singleness in terms of like relationship, but you bring yourself to a space or to a level where it's just you intake your thoughts, you're processing, so you remove as much media as possible. And then you practice that for a week or two. And then you open yourself up for community, and you find, what does a community have? And so they do this thing where they go back and forth between what they call cloister or solitude, and they reintegrate back into community. So that's why they'll do vows of silence. With this specific group, what they'll do is they'll do vows of loneliness. So they'll put themselves intentionally into space of like solitude, no folks around, it's just them.
Wow.
So that when they go back in, they can illuminate and find new meaning in community or whatever. And so for me, that's been another practice that I found to be really helpful, especially after big events, is like, okay, we just did this really, really big thing. Now we go back into an intentional space of silence, no media, no consumption, no people. And then we let ourselves live there. And then when we're ready, then we move back into the space of like openness. So like in the past, I would take a month, I would take 2 weeks, and just pull up somewhere, not tell anybody where I'm at, go completely MIA, not take any books, nothing, just sit there, and then come back out and interact with folks. So that's also been a really helpful tool. But the book's called Radical Hospitality. It's a little bit different in terms of it's like thinking about hospitality, but I found it to be so helpful. And especially because I'm generating so many ideas, and we're going through so many phases, and design and color, and you're timing everything, and you're making sure that everything hits at the right time. And so it just gives your brain also the space to like, I don't have to think about that anymore. I don't have to worry about time the parade kicks off. I don't have to worry about, XYZ. So a little bit different practice than common folks.
I love that. I gotta go find that book. That's
It's good. It's very,
Esteban,
very
that's
good.
really, yeah.
That's fascinating. And it goes to, I mean,
Wow.
it goes into this whole concept of balance, right? Of
Right.
like,
Yeah.
instead of continually giving, like there has to be an in and an out, and to be able to find that flow for whatever it is that you're doing. Obviously, this is an extreme amount, when you're putting on these events and different things like that. It's all the giving, all the going out, and to be able to balance yourself, to get that back inwards and to focus and reflect on what you need, and just take the time and quiet. Like, I think that's so important wherever you are in life. And now with constant cell phones and social media, and like it's always going, to take that as the other part of the balance that we need, I think is so important.
Yeah.
And it's also important to say that this is different from vacationing, right? Because vacationing is still
it's still an event. Yes. Yeah.
It's still an event. You're moving your body, you're doing all these things. But yeah, it's all in it. And really, I mean, I sound funny when I tell folks I don't own a TV. I don't have any sort of audio device. I mean, I do now because for other reasons, but like before I wouldn't have anything that produces noise. So I really only relied on like my cell phone if I wanted to watch something or hear something. But really it's that hope of like, okay, if we need to clarify something, if we find ourselves in conflict, or if we need to feel something, like we're giving our space the full opportunity to do that. So yeah, a little different practice, but it's benefited me a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's great. I've talked to a couple people now that have basically unplugged from social media. So they've taken like their hiatus from Instagram and Facebook, definitely Facebook, just because there's just a lot of stuff going on there. And it's, I mean, I still appreciate Facebook because I can connect with family, but I also appreciate that sometimes you just need to disconnect and have that human element versus what is somebody feeding you and what did the AI hear me say, so it's really it's really a fascinating thing. Like the other day, I forget, I was talking about something and it showed up and I'm like, stop doing that, that's weird. It's just trippy. It's just the whole thing is just trippy to me. So I know you talked about just unplugging and going away and doing stuff like that, right? Who do you consider your support system for when you kind of go away, and if you need to come back and talk to people? Are there people out there who you want to thank? Are there people there that are great, that you're grateful for? Would you mind sharing a little bit about that? Or if not, totally fine also. So yeah.
No, I totally would love to share that. So we didn't dive too much into my story. It exists in other platforms and mediums, and so folks can go hear more about where I come from. And one of the news stations, I'm very grateful they did a whole segment, so you can we don't get the chance to talk about it here, but if folks want to go listen to it, they can just search me.
That's the Let's Talk episode. Yes.
The Let's Talk episode, on Creme 2. So if you want to go, there's a full 30-minute whole thing where you could hear me share everything. But for a long time, I had a really hard relationship with my family. We went through a lot as a family. When I first came out to them, I was met with violence from my father, and so I became homeless at 15, and so I navigated life most of my time without a family. And it wasn't until I was about 23, 24 that we all fully reconciled. So a little under 10 years, I would say. And now they're like my greatest support system. They're my champions. We talk on the phone almost every day. My father and I, we had the hardest relationship, and now the whole thing has completely turned. I cannot thank them enough for meeting me in this, stage of life. And they're constantly, they've stopped trying to figure out what I'm doing and what I do with my life. They just say, okay, we're here and we'll do whatever you need us to do. So I'm very, very grateful that that's reality now. So I really want to make sure that I thank them. My sisters, they're wild and they keep me wild. And when the three of us are together, oh my, the things that the three of us get into is comical.
Good.
It's comical. So I'm really grateful for them. And then and then obviously my mother and I, we have a very just our connection is very different. I think we're very similar, and so we come together at the best ways, and then we also butt heads in also the best ways because we're so similar. So our relationship is funny. And then my friends here. The other thing that I'm really grateful for is these experiences really clarify who's for you and who's not for you.
Sure.
I think some folks think that there's a lot of benefit in being my friend, or they think that because I do all these things that there's some sort of glamour or I get some sort of like payoff for it. I do all of this for free. I don't do anything for pay. I really show up as authentically as who I am. And when folks recognize or they see that I'm like not out here trying to do this to make a name for myself, or I'm not trying to do this to become famous, like folks leave me alone. And I'm grateful for that because I don't have that kind of energy around. But the folks who do stay, our friendship really does mean a lot. So I've got friends in Portland who, drop of a hat, they'll be there, and they also create refuge. So the moments when I need to escape, I'm most likely at one of their houses.
Yeah,
awesome. I'm most likely.
Shh, don't tell anyone.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm revealing where I'm at. I do have. There's only one person in my life who I have allowed in all the weird AI phone things. There's only one person who has my exact location on their phone at all times. Oh. And so they're also very secret, and I cannot. Yeah, they know who they are. I hope we never have to reveal who they are, but I'm also for them. And then we have my business partner with the event business, Sarah Dixit, and her husband Adam. They're just amazing. My friends in Portland are Celise and Obob and Brian and Andra. And then here in Spokane, I mean, when I say that I'm just so grateful. It's so wild. So like Keonta Duncan, if you haven't met her, you need to meet her. She also is another woman that is she's the former president of the NAACP. She is a philanthropist, amazing woman. Her and her wife, Sylvia, they've got just crazy stories. They've come from the wildest, just amazing folks who have enriched Spokane so much, and they just continue to enrich my lives. And then the other folks from the other nonprofits, they support me in ways. So I've got like Rue Ramos and the team at Spectrum Center. They've been really kind, and they do a lot for just a lot of the extra lifting. I've Matt Danielson, who's been my right-hand person at Pride. He's been just with me through everything. And I'm the first one to like get frustrated, and he's the one who's like, okay, calm down. We're gonna get through it. So there's that. And then we've got our little fun little crew right now. And I've got my friends Coley, Heather, Jade, and Julie, and the five of us get into, the four of us get into, five of us get into trouble all the time, which is fine.
All right,
it's fine.
That's awesome.
But they've been the ones really, and Coley really this last year has really made sure she helped me with just getting around, making sure that I had everything that I needed, and so she's really helpful this last year. So I want to make sure that I say that I grew up in a religious home, and they would always say that if I ever came out as gay, that I would live like a life of sadness and loneliness, and I wouldn't experience fullness in relationships. And I'm so grateful that that's not the reality that I face every day, that I get to feel fullness, I get to have friends, I get to experience just a beautiful and wonderful community. So I'm very, very grateful for just everybody and how they show up for me. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah, live your life to the fullest, buddy, because that's all we've got. And it's all we've got. And it's so nice to see the joy in your eyes and the sparkle in your smile. Like you have seen some things, friend. And that is the fact that you are here and you are joyful and you are protecting your space and you are doing all the great fun things. So I also seriously miss Broadway plays. So and musicals. What's the latest one you've been to? Can you just What's the latest?
we went because we got tickets. Oh my gosh, we went and we saw the Temptations one, and I was like, I don't know how to feel about this, and it was so much fun.
Awesome.
And I don't know what's going on in the background, but it was excited too. It was so good, and just like not only the storytelling, but just to hear, and this, yeah, just to hear men sing in, you don't. We're so I'm in our typical Broadway repertoire. You're so used to hearing the women sing, right? Which is not a bad thing. And so to have all these men sing, it was just, I don't know, it was just, there were chills all night long, and you know the songs, and so you're singing and you're dancing. It was fun.
Awesome.
How cool. Oh my gosh. So, you know, I know you talked about how you now have your own events company, which is amazing. You know, one of the things that we talk about here on this podcast is really this, we call it the "This Is Happening" list. And it sounds like you're kind of addressing most of those things in the way that you're perceiving life. But is there anything else that, you know, that you wanted to try but haven't yet, or anything that you're really wanting to try to experience or bring into your life that is going to be happening for you?
I'm saying this one as because I don't know yet, but folks really want me to run for public office, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's not that it's just so tumultuous right now. I don't know if that's like the environment I want to jump into, but I'm saying that because folks are like, you should try this thing, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. I think the other thing I really want to dedicate. I have the best job in the world. I have the coolest boss, David Garcia. I'm very, very grateful for the whole setup. But I think I'm also interested in giving the event business just a shot, just seeing what could it be like, even if it ends up being nothing, even if it ends up, you know, I just would like to try it. I think I've given a lot of other ventures a lot of space, you know, working on behalf of other folks, and so this would be the first like me focused thing or thing that I've like really created myself. And so like, I don't know, maybe giving that a shot. We'll see what that's like. And then selfishly, I've been single for like 12 years. And so I'm also like, am I going to get the chance to experience a relationship? Not, that's okay. I understand how singleness works. But at the same time, I'm like, that could be fun to try that out. I don't know. We'll see.
Good for you.
So that's the what's happening list.
Love it. So speaking of, just real quickly on the event side, how can people learn more about your company if they're interested in working with you or anything like that? Can you share?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yes. Okay. Don't judge the SEO right now. I'm vamping the SEO hub. So we're a little bit hard to search for, but it's okay. We're going to get better at it. So it's called Via Hospitality Agency. And it's we're basically an inclusive event and production company. So our hope is to work with LGBTQ plus couples or people who want to party. And we want to work with folks from all kinds of experiences. But here specifically in Spokane, one of the things that we learned was that there was only 3 like event venues that publicly say that they would allow same-sex couples to get married in their space. There were no inclusive event planners before us. And so folks would have to fight tooth and nail to even find representation in the places where they choose to get married. So really our hope is not only to support couples as they plan their weddings, but also, you know, call people in, call people out as we need to as well, to make sure that as many places are accessible to folks, and to identify, okay, these are the places where you're going to go and you can be affirmed in your experience. Also, one of the things that we wanted to also offer were like coming out party packages. So if someone decided, you know, I want to do something specific for coming out, we'd be there to help them do that, or transition party, or, you know, whatever it is. We exist really to help celebrate folks. And then the other thing too that we really wanted to focus on was just creating an inclusive network of folks. And so if someone came and said, I want to get my makeup done and I want to do a photo shoot to whatever it could be, you know, just to celebrate or whatever it is, that we'd be able to point them and connect them with folks who could be able to do that. So not only are we doing the organizing side, but we're also doing the connection and networking for folks too. So Via Hospitality Agency, the website is Let's Party BB, so letspartybaby.com. And you can find us on Instagram at Via Hospitality.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness. Well, those sound amazing. And truly, I'm so glad to be able to share that with folks too, especially if you're in the Spokane area. But I assume you might work with people who are virtual or anything like that too, in case that's something they're looking for. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. We're trying to figure out there's some other folks who want to know how to do it on the west side. So we're also trying to figure out how do we replicate, how do we grow but not grow too fast. So there's just a lot of questions. So, but yeah, absolutely.
Esteban, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you today, and
likewise.
Wish you luck if you decide to dip your toes into the political space. Because I know that can be a tough crowd, but it sounds like you have an army of people that will come with you. And will support you. I hope that you continue to have all the fun in the world and everything that you most definitely deserve, which is joy and happiness and love. Look Esteban up. He's a cutie pie. So on that,
truth,
it is. So Esteban, again, what a joy. Again, thank you for sharing your story with us. Also, thank you for living your life in the happiest way you can possible. And everybody, this is the end of this episode for You Only Go Once. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.